Do you want to know the cure to blushing? I bet you do. I bet you do. I bet you do. Well, come along on a Saturday outing with my family in downtown Greenville, little vlog-ish, and then I'm gonna chat with you for a little bit about how to cure blushing. Stick around.
Gotta stand up straight. Gonna rise like a champion.
Hey there, we are headed downtown Greenville. We're gonna hang out today. Where is my camera bag? Just the boys, Tony and I. Gonna go check out the bake room at the Commons, which is like the best. Like, oh my gosh, their pastries are so good. We're gonna go there, do that. What else are we doing? Let the boys play at the park for a little bit and have a little bit of a Saturday outing. So I'll take you along on the journey and let's go have a Saturday.
What's your story? What's your sign? It's like we're twin flames in a different life. Deep connection lights a spark. It's like you know me in the depths of my heart. We're dreamers. Don't care what other people say. We're living like this could be our final day. We're dreamers. Don't care what the others say. We're doing this in our way. We come alive in the nighttime. It's something about how we dance in the moonlight. That look in your eyes, it tells me that you want me and all my loving. We come alive in the nighttime. You and I, we come alive. We come alive. We come alive. What's your weakness? What's
Rolling away. Peach.
Oh
Peach
my
is
god. This is like, bruh.
Ooh, the ham and Swiss croissants. So butter, we have no napkins. Come back, baby. Banana bread.
Eat it all, so good.
One bite.
your type? Somehow I wanna know all about you. Deep connection lights a spark. You already know me when we dance in the dark. We're dreamers. We're living like this could be our final day. We're dreamers. We're doing this in our way. We come alive in the nighttime. It's something about how we dance in the moonlight. That look in your eyes, it tells me that you want me and all my loving. We come alive in the nighttime. You and I, we come alive. Oh, we come alive. We come alive. Oh, we come alive. Tell me that you want me. I can see you want me by the look in your eyes. Tell me that you want me. I can see you want me by the look in your eyes. We come alive. We come alive. We come alive in the nighttime. There's something about how we dance in the moonlight. That look in your eyes, it tells me that you want me and all my loving. We come alive in the nighttime. You and I, we come alive. Oh, 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 we come alive. Yeah, we come alive. Oh, 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 we come alive. We come alive.
You want to know the secret to overcome blushing? You may have noticed that the channel is starting to change and shift and expand into something different. And that is because yours truly is changing and shifting and expanding into maybe something different, or perhaps just returning home to who I've always been meant to be. If you've been around for a while, you know the drill, you know the story, you know the journey. But if you're new here, welcome. My name is April. I'm the founder of Blushing Phoenix, and I started this channel about 4 years ago or so because I was trying to give exposure to myself and my fear of blushing, which is called erythrophobia. And I went on a journey to heal myself and just really better understand what the heck that was, and try to connect with people like yourself to know that I wasn't alone, because so much of what helps empower us and grow us beyond this state of fear is just knowing you're not alone, that you're not in this alone, you're not experiencing this alone. And there's just something about knowing that there's people that are in it with you that really changes the game, at least for me. So everything I'm gonna share with you here is just from my own perspective. It is from my own journey. It is from my path, my wiring, my mind, my body, my soul. If it resonates with you, fantastic. Take what you need. If it doesn't resonate with you, sift out, like put everything I say in a little colander sifter and sift that shit out. And whatever doesn't stay in the colander is not for you. All right, so this is me sharing my own personal experiences. A few months ago, I had the great pleasure of interviewing Dr. Madeline Day Hawk, and Dr. Madeline Day Hawk did a TEDx talk about how she cured her blushing, and it was all about like communication, environment, and feeling safe to use your voice. It was right around the time that I was actually on this part of my journey where I realized like I have to use my voice, and I don't know why. I actually was looking on YouTube for this particular situation, but when I pulled up something about erythrophobia, probably doing some research for the channel, it pulled up Madeline, Dr. Madeline's video, and I listened to it and I wept because I felt so seen and understood. When I had the opportunity to interview her, you can see the full interview on my channel. You can also see kind of a like snapshot of our interview where I compiled some of the highlights. And in that highlight video and in the full interview, she says to me that blushing is a doorway through which we have to walk to reach our full potential. If you struggle with blushing, if you struggle with erythrophobia, turning red, then that is actually the invitation. The first thing you want to do is just run away, but that's actually the invitation itself. And I find it quite interesting because I've always had that philosophy regarding panic attacks and anxiety. If you've been around for a while, back in 2011, I experienced debilitating anxiety and depression, and eventually I realized that that was actually the doorway, the invitation. The anxiety was not something to make me feel fearful. It was an invitation into where I needed to cross over a threshold. So I wrote a book about that called Pressing Forward. All of that's linked down below. But she is sharing the same thing with blushing, because blushing is the same type of response in the body, is that it is asking you to step in. But what most people want to do is run away and hide and cover up and just get away from the situation as quick as possible so the nervous system can calm down and you can be on your way. But what it does is it just reinforces the invitation to blush over and over again. Social anxiety kicks in. You feel like you can't function out in public. You can't enjoy a meal out with friends because all you're doing is worrying about if you're going to turn red, if people are going to call it out, if somebody's going to point it out. And so when Dr. Madeline Day Hawk said, you know, blushing is a doorway through which we have to walk in order to reach our full potential, I was really listening to her. You know, one thing that she states as well is that the way to cure blushing is to face it head on. How many of you did I just lose when I said that? That is the invitation. What I think we get into this headspace of is like, I can't, oh my gosh, I can't do that. Oh, I could never do that. Oh, there's no way I could do that. But why? What are you believing that's telling you that you can't do that? I've been on a journey recently, really extracting a lot out from like my inner child. You know, I've heard a lot about inner child healing. It's not something I've ever really done, but it's funny how it's kind of just met me on my path. So lately, over the past few weeks, I've really been spending a lot of time with like 5-year-old April. And when I say 5-year-old April, that's from like little girl all the way up through like my 20s, like that April, but really the one that like lived with parents, really had needs that needed to be met that parents couldn't quite meet, those needs in particular. And the way I wired my survival skills and my nervous system based on my childhood. Now, I will say I didn't have this incredibly traumatic experience as a kid. I had parents who were exhausted, who worked hard, who were just not emotionally always available. And so what that does for a child, regardless of your traumatic situation, your body doesn't know the difference. So it caused me to start to think, if I don't have this love, if I don't have this approval, if I say something and it is not received in the way I actually meant it, then I will be cast away. My mom or dad will be mad at me. They won't talk to me. They won't love me. And the belief goes deeper. If they don't love me, then I will die. And I've been talking about this a lot recently because it's been this whole eye-opening experience for me where I really feel that this like higher level version of myself is saying, it is time to move on. And so I am now in this season of walking through the door, stepping over the threshold. Instead of being here on the channel, testing out products and just continuously reinforcing this fear of turning red, I'm actually stepping into what I've been telling you guys to do for like the past 4 years, is to actually show up. So I've been doing that, and I've been doing that to a certain degree. And then, you know, life is like layers. This healing, if that's what you want to call it, I feel like that's like a lifelong journey, which really is just like a returning, constantly just being okay with yourself. There's really no like outside healing. It is all this internal evolution is what my own thoughts and feelings are about it. So I've been on that journey my whole life pretty much, but really over the past few weeks where I started thinking about like, what am I believing? Because I've always attached these fears to my corporate job. If I could just get out of corporate, this wouldn't happen to me anymore. But you know what? It would. It would anytime I'm in a space where I feel like there's this authoritative person or somebody that I'm inferior to that would create this triggering in my body, because it's all based in a belief of something that I put in my mind, in my body, in my nervous system when I was 5 years old, when I was a little bitty girl. Because it was a way to survive. Because if I speak out of place, if I'm misunderstood, if I don't behave well, if I question anything, then that's gonna make the authoritative people upset. And if the authoritative people are upset, they're not gonna love me anymore. If they don't love me anymore, I could be homeless, I could not have a home, I could not have food, I could not have all of my basic needs, and then I would die. That, even back then, wasn't true, but it's how I made sense of the world around me. So, quick story. My son went to karate the other day, and the instructor was going through this whole like teaching with them, and he was talking about the kicking leg. And as he was asking them questions about the leading kicking leg, he was explaining to them like right leg, left leg, whichever. I wasn't really fully paying attention to that part. But then he asked them a question. He was like, is it the right leg or the left leg? And the kids screamed out, right, left. And he said, who said right? And hands went up. And he said, who said left? And hands went up. And I watched those kids and I thought, wow, I am transported back to being in elementary school, and there's an assembly going on at my school, and there's an instructor, a teacher, some person that's up there that's teaching us something. And then he asked a question. I can't remember specifically what he was there for, what he was talking about, but let's just use the example of the karate situation. He says, who said right leg? Who said left leg? Hands go up, but not my hand. Because I don't know the answer is right. I think I might know the answer is right, but I'm too afraid to say the wrong answer. If I say the wrong answer, then I will be made fun of. And if I get made fun of, then I will feel shame and I will feel guilt. And if I feel all of those feelings of embarrassment and not belonging, then what belief am I believing? That I don't belong, I'm not loved. And if I'm not loved, I will die. So I just don't raise my hand. And so over the years, you know, I'm the person kind of watching the room, you know, where's the smart kids and what are they saying? Okay, cool, right leg. the smart people said right leg. And if they're wrong, I'm not alone. We're all wrong together. And that's actually in and of itself a bonding experience. But I watched those kids at karate and how they just, I mean, couldn't care less. Right leg, left leg. And I don't even remember who was right or who was wrong, but nobody cared. Like nobody sat there and was like, oh, I can't finish this whole karate class because I was wrong. And now I'm like chastised and I'm like casted out of the group. Like it wasn't real. So these stories that we've told ourselves when we were younger that were based off of our beliefs back then, which were based off of expectations or our parents' downfalls, it's just time to let that go. Like we can sit and hold on to that all day long and just like reinforce the reason why we are the way we are. Or I can look at myself in the mirror and go, hey, I hear you, I see you, I'm sorry that happened to you. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you to all the people that caused that to happen. And now we're moving on. We are moving on. And because you are 38-year-old April, and that story that you told yourself and that belief that you had back when you were 5 years old, number one, you know better now. That doesn't even make sense. And number two, that story doesn't serve you anymore. So recently I've gotten into this place where as soon as I had this like revelation that I'm like, oh my gosh, I know all these things now and I'm aware of things and I know what beliefs I'm believing. And I'm telling myself I am confident, I have a voice, my voice is heard, I know what I'm talking about, people listen to me, because I have shut down my voice for so long to be good. Because again, if I'm not good and I upset somebody or they misunderstand me, then I'm unworthy, unlovable, and if I'm unlovable, then I will be cast out, and if I'm cast out, I will die. All of that like subconscious belief. And so I've been really opening up that throat chakra and talking and speaking and challenging myself to step across the threshold of my voice. So the other day, I was like in this really fantastic, uplifted, high energy level mood. I wound up in a little, not necessarily an altercation, but in a situation where I was having a conversation with a group of people, and a couple of them disagreed with me. And I trust these people and we get along well, but they kind of challenged me and disagreed with me. And I think they were kind of like having their own mood that day. And so immediately I felt myself from this level drop into that scared little girl. I was so aware of like, oh my gosh, this is 5-year-old April right now. This is not 38-year-old April. This is that 5-year-old that's being, because somebody has a little bit of a snarky attitude or a little bit of dominance to them, it's making me feel small. This is not true because it's based off of something I'm believing. So what do I believe now? And what I believed in that moment was I thought, okay, that caught me off guard. I'm aware. I am competent. I know what I'm talking about. I belong here and I'm safe here. And these are not my enemies. And so I was able to project my voice back. Normally what would happen in the past when I was just kind of like all over the place and tossed around is I would get into this state of mind where I would just completely forget what my point was. Because if you challenge me and I don't really fully know how to explain what I'm trying to say, then I just retreat and lose my voice. And I thought that that was just like a normal thing, like that truly is what happens. But I didn't realize what was happening under the surface of that thing is that there was a true survival instinct that was kicking in, because my mind doesn't know the difference. My mind doesn't know who that is talking to me. It just knows based off of that belief, what I start to feel and the thoughts that I put around that, and then it puts me back into this state of mind. So I pulled that thing back out because I was telling myself a new story, a new belief, and was able to make it through that conversation, get on the other end of it, and then have this retrospective moment about, okay, what happened there? What caught me off guard? What was I believing? And how will this be different next time? And then the next day I had another conversation, and it actually was with my CEO, which you guys have been around, you know that like I'm like have mentally placed this belief on like CEOs, C-level executives. Even though I was a C-level executive myself, it's always felt like I was more inferior to them. And yeah, inferior, I got the words mixed. I was like superior? No, inferior. I was inferior to them. And so I was in a conversation with my CEO recently. If you've been around a while, you know that the people I work with are fantastic, love them, they're so safe. I even told him specifically that, you know, we're gonna work through this trauma from corporate America together. But we were having a good conversation, and I was really sharing, and I really feel safe to talk. But I kept kind of repeating this thing over and over again about this particular situation. And he said to me, I want to challenge that though. I want to challenge what you're saying there because X, Y, Z. Super respectful. Actually, he gave me some insight about something. And as soon as he said, challenge you and it was coming from my CEO, I felt the difference. Normally I would be like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. I've said too much. I need to like back down. What does he want? Like fill out what he's saying, act the way he wants me to act, and become this puppet so that I can stay safe. Because if not, then he will deem me as unworthy. He will remove his love and I will be cast out and I will die. Doesn't even make sense, right? Like, have we all not had jobs come and go? Have we not had people come and go? And why do I need his love and support and appreciation and worthiness for me anyway? No, we are professional. We work together. He trusts me. We work there together. I was chosen to be a part of that team. So all of that story and that narrative doesn't even make sense anymore. So anyway, as he challenges me, I feel it in my body. Like, oh, like that repression, that like folding into myself. And I thought, no, shoulders back, listen, he's your partner, listen to him, you're not inferior. And I listened to what he said. He gave some greater insight to something that was a blind spot in my overall like idea of what was happening in this one area. And so I was like, you know what? You actually just shared some insights with me that gave me more of a view of what's actually happening. So you're right in challenging me. And because he challenged me, it got me thinking stop thinking from here, and I started thinking from here. And we were actually able to solution together and come up with something better and more creative for our company and moving some things forward. So it was really healthy. Whereas in the past, I would have just like shut down, felt so like bad, flushed like crazy. And I realized when I got off that call with him, there was no flushing whatsoever. I have not flushed in the past couple of weeks. Possibly one time as I was still purging some stuff. And it's not even about that for me. It's not about saying like, I don't blush anymore. But I feel like I have figured out the reason why the blushing is so bad all the time is because my voice is repressed. My voice is shut down. It is truly my subconscious pushing a message out and trying to get me back on track, get me to use my voice, get me to be okay with myself, get me to love myself and feel worthy in and of myself and stop handing that power out to the outside world. And I've taken the invitation by stepping over the threshold, by stepping into the blushing, by saying, you know what? I actually woke up and I challenged the universe around me to say, let somebody disagree with me today. I want to feel uncomfortable today. I want to have opportunities to use my voice today in a very passionate way. Ask and you shall receive, because it seems like all of a sudden these things are coming up where I'm able to open my voice, feel a little jabbed up, and having to make sense of it in this new headspace under these new beliefs. It is remarkable. And I know that it's like, oh, well, it sounds so simple. And it's like, I heard a therapist say one time, like, change is easy. It actually takes more to stay the same and stay in your like bad habits and your toxic traits. It's easier to change by changing your beliefs than it is to stay the same. Like, whoa, I know that it's like, but it's so hard and it's this and it's that. But I'm telling you, answer the invitation. I'm not here to give you your answers. I'm just walking out my own journey and letting you watch it. Again, if it resonates with you, take it with you, test it out, let it like move around in your body and in your mind and see if it resonates and helps direct your path a different way. If it doesn't resonate, then you can leave it here. It's just for me, but it is so working for me. And if you've been on this journey with me, you know what I've been through here. And it has been an unfolding, an unwinding, a remembering, a coming to this new place in mind, body, and spirit, and being so okay with who I am. I just had to share that with you. So I am leaving that here with you, and I appreciate you coming along for the journey. If you're still hanging on at this point of the video, leave a comment down below with what resonated for you. If you've been on this journey yourself for a while and you already knew about like the whole change in the beliefs things and what that did for you, because people come and visit these videos and they look straight in the comments to see like, well, who else is talking about this? So feel free to leave a comment below, like, subscribe, all of those things if you would like to. If not, no big deal. Just glad that you stopped in today, and I hope that you found something that gives you a little bit of hope. All right, my friends, I'll see you in my next video.
Rise up, rise up, rise up. crowd gets rough. Gotta stand up straight.